ExamPrep.School. Massachusetts Advisor's Exam for Accident and Health or Sickness Insurance. Exam code SERIES 16-56. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Accident, health, or sickness insurance basics. Dental insurance. Disability income and related insurance. Federal tax considerations for health insurance. General insurance. Health insurance plans. Individual accident, health, or sickness. Insurance policy, general rights. Insurance regulation. Insurance for senior citizens and special needs individuals. Large group health insurance. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. In Massachusetts, regulations stipulate that an insurance advisor examination candidate who fails must observe a mandatory waiting period before retaking the exam. What is this minimum waiting period? A. 15 days. B. 30 days. C. 60 days. D. 90 days. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is the 30-day waiting period mandated by Massachusetts regulations before an applicant may retake the insurance advisor examination. Reason A is not correct. A 15-day interval is shorter than the minimum retest waiting period specified by Massachusetts regulations. Reason C is not correct. A 60-day interval exceeds the retest waiting period mandated by Massachusetts regulations. Reason D is not correct. A 90-day interval far exceeds the retest waiting period required by Massachusetts regulations. Question 2. Pursuant to Massachusetts Division of Insurance Regulations, how many classroom hours of pre-licensing education must an applicant complete to qualify for an initial insurance advisor license? A. 15 hours. B. 20 hours. C. 25 hours. D. 30 hours. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is 20 classroom hours, which is the minimum pre-licensing education requirement set by the Massachusetts Division of Insurance for an initial advisor license. Reason A is not correct. 15 hours is below the minimum classroom hour requirement established by Massachusetts regulations. Reason C is not correct. 25 hours exceeds the regulation's minimum pre-licensing education requirement. Reason D is not correct. 30 hours exceeds the regulation's minimum pre-licensing education requirement. Question 3. 4 applicants seek to schedule the Massachusetts Accident and Health Advisor licensing exam. Each has completed state-required pre-licensing education at various times and in different formats. Based solely on examination eligibility rules for Massachusetts advisor applicants, which applicant qualifies to sit for the exam without retaking any course components? A. Completed a 20-hour pre-licensing course including the 3-hour ethics segment 10 months ago. B. Completed a 20-hour pre-licensing course including the 3-hour ethics segment 14 months ago. C. Completed an 18-hour pre-licensing course including the 3-hour ethics segment 6 months ago. D. Completed a 20-hour pre-licensing course 4 months ago, but did not include the ethics segment. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is the applicant who completed the full 20-hour pre-licensing course, including the 3-hour ethics segment within the past 12 months. Pre-licensing education remains valid for 1 year, and candidates must complete all required hours to be eligible to sit for the exam. Reason B is not correct. That applicant's pre-licensing credit lapsed after 12 months, making it invalid for exam eligibility. Reason C is not correct. Insufficient total coursework hours disqualify the applicant until the full 20 hours are completed. Reason D is not correct. Missing the mandatory ethics segment means the pre-licensing education is incomplete. Question 4. Under Massachusetts general laws, Chapter 175, Section 4, the Commissioner of Insurance is empowered to A. Propose regulations governing insurer market conduct. B. Adjudicate claims disputes between insureds and insurers. C. Act as contractual guarantor for insolvent insurers. D. Conduct annual actuarial audits of insurer rate filings. The correct answer is A. The Commissioner has authority under MGLC 175, Section 4, to adopt and enforce regulations related to insurer market conduct, including issuing directives and rules. Reason B is not correct. Claims disputes are resolved through legal or arbitration processes, not by the Commissioner acting as adjudicator. Reason C is not correct. The Commissioner does not assume insurer obligations. Insolvencies are covered by the State Guarantee Association. Reason D is not correct. While rate filings require review, the Commissioner is not tasked with conducting annual actuarial audits by statute. Question 5. Under Massachusetts law, a foreign accident and health insurer must deposit what minimum amount of security with the state treasurer to obtain a certificate of authority? A. $100,000. B. $250,000. C. $500,000. D. $750,000. The correct answer is C. Massachusetts requires a foreign accident and health insurer to deposit $500,000 in security with the state treasurer as a condition for receiving a certificate of authority. Reason A is not correct. A $100,000 deposit is below the statutory requirement and thus insufficient. Reason B is not correct. A $250,000 deposit underestimates the required security amount. Reason D is not correct. A $750,000 deposit exceeds the minimum required and is not the statutory threshold. Question 6. According to Massachusetts solvency standards, how often must the Commissioner of Insurance conduct a financial examination of each authorized insurer? A. Every 5 years. B. Every 3 years. C. Every 8 years. D. Every 10 years. The correct answer is A. Massachusetts law mandates that the Commissioner examine the financial condition of each authorized insurer at least once every 5 years to ensure ongoing solvency compliance. Reason B is not correct. A 3-year interval is more frequent than the statutory requirement. Reason C is not correct. An 8-year interval exceeds the maximum period authorized by law. Reason D is not correct. A 10-year interval is too long and does not meet the minimum examination frequency. Question 7. An insurer prepares a new individual health policy form and plans to distribute it in Massachusetts. The company files the form with the Division of Insurance on March 1st. Under Massachusetts regulations, what must the insurer do before using the form? A. Use the form immediately upon filing, subject to disapproval within 30 days. B. Wait 30 days from the filing date before using the form unless it is disapproved. C. Obtain express written approval from the Commissioner before using the form. D. Wait 60 days from the filing date and may begin using the form unless it is disapproved. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is that Massachusetts operates on a file and use basis for individual health policy forms with a 60-day review period. If the form is not disapproved within 60 days, it may be used. Reason A is not correct. Immediate use is not permitted. The insurer must wait 60 days, not file and use immediately with a 30-day window. Reason B is not correct. Massachusetts requires a 60-day review period, not 30 days, before use of health policy forms. Reason C is not correct. Express prior approval is not required. Forms are deemed approved after the 60-day filing period unless disapproved. Question 8. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, before obtaining a consumer report for underwriting insurance, an insurer must secure which of the following? A. Explicit oral consent from the consumer. B. Acknowledgement of receipt of the summary of rights. C. An agreement to provide an adverse action notice. D. A clear and conspicuous written authorization. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is a clear and conspicuous written authorization because the FCRA requires written permission from the consumer before accessing a consumer report for insurance underwriting. Reason A is not correct. Oral consent does not satisfy the FCRA's written authorization requirement. Reason B is not correct. The summary of rights must be provided after an adverse action, not before the report request. Reason C is not correct. Agreeing to receive an adverse action notice is not required to obtain the report. Question 9. Under the FCRA, a pre-adverse action notice for an insurance underwriting decision must include all of the following except A. Copy of the consumer report. B. Summary of consumer rights under the FCRA. C. Identification of the credit reporting agency that provided the report. D. Explanation of the insurer's internal underwriting criteria. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is explanation of the insurer's internal underwriting criteria, because the FCRA does not require insurers to disclose their internal standards in pre-adverse action notices. Reason A is not correct. Including a copy of the consumer report is required to allow consumer review before adverse action. Reason B is not correct. Providing a summary of rights is mandatory under the FCRA's adverse action provisions. Reason C is not correct. Identification of the reporting agency is required so the consumer knows whom to contact for disputes. Question 10. Which of the following statements best distinguishes pure risk from speculative risk in insurance? A. Pure risk involves the possibility of a financial gain. B. Speculative risk involves the potential for loss, no loss, or gain. C. Pure risk typically cannot be insured by insurance companies. D. Speculative risk involves only the chance of loss or no loss. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because speculative risk includes the possibility of loss, no loss, or gain, whereas pure risk only involves loss or no loss. Reason A is not correct. That description is incorrect because pure risk does not include any possibility of financial gain. Reason C is not correct. That description is incorrect because pure risks are generally insurable under standard insurance policies. Reason D is not correct. That description is incorrect because speculative risk can include financial gain as well as loss or no change. Question 11. In health insurance pricing, exposure units are primarily used to A. Assess the adequacy of an insurer's loss reserves. B. Standardize risk measurement by quantifying insured lives or coverage units. C. Determine cost-sharing proportions between multiple carriers. D. Adjust premium rates solely based on claim frequency. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because exposure units provide a standard basis for calculating premiums by quantifying the number of insured lives or amount of coverage. Reason A is not correct. That is incorrect because exposure units relate to premium calculations, not reserve adequacy assessments. Reason C is not correct. That is incorrect because exposure units do not determine carrier cost-sharing arrangements. Reason D is not correct. That is incorrect because exposure units measure insured exposure, not just claim frequency adjustments. Question 12. An insurance applicant admits on the health insurance application that they have exaggerated past medical conditions on previous claims to secure higher benefit payments. Which type of hazard does this behavior illustrate? A. Physical hazard. B. Moral hazard. C. Moral hazard. D. Speculative hazard. The correct answer is C. This scenario describes intentional misrepresentation for financial gain, which is characteristic of moral hazard. Physical hazards involve tangible conditions that increase the likelihood of loss. Morale hazards reflect careless attitudes, and speculative hazards involve risk of gain or loss without fraud. Reason A is not correct. Physical hazard is incorrect because it refers to a material condition or environment that increases risk without involving dishonesty. Reason B is not correct. Morale hazard is incorrect because it involves indifference or carelessness rather than deliberate fraud. Reason D is not correct. Speculative hazard is incorrect because it involves taking a risk for potential gain or loss, not intentional misrepresentation. Question 13. Under statutory accounting practices, which of the following accurately reflects a limitation on a mutual health insurance company's ability to augment its surplus that does not apply to a stock health insurer? A. It cannot issue common stock to increase its paid-in capital. B. It must classify policyholder surplus as a liability. C. It is prohibited from utilizing unassigned funds for dividend payments. D. It must amortize premium deficiency reserves over multiple fiscal periods. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that mutual health insurers lack shareholders and therefore cannot issue common stock to raise paid-in surplus, whereas stock insurers can issue equity shares. Reason B is not correct. A mutual insurer does not classify policyholder surplus as a liability. Surplus remains reported in surplus rather than liabilities. Reason C is not correct. A mutual insurer can utilize unassigned funds for dividends if allowed by its board and regulators. Reason D is not correct. Amortization of premium deficiency reserves over multiple periods is unrelated to mutual versus stock capital raising capabilities. Question 14. Which of the following characteristics best describes fraternal benefit societies in the context of health insurance provision? A. They provide coverage exclusively to members sharing a common bond and operate on a nonprofit basis. B. They issue stock policies and distribute profits to external shareholders. C. They are regulated under the Affordable Care Act as small group insurers. D. They sell health coverage only through independent brokerage firms. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that fraternal benefit societies operate as nonprofit member organizations open to individuals sharing a common bond, unlike stock or mutual insurers. Reason B is not correct. Fraternal benefit societies cannot issue stock or distribute profits to shareholders because they operate as nonprofits. Reason C is not correct. Fraternal benefit societies are not regulated under the ACA as small group insurers, but under special society statutes. Reason D is not correct. Fraternal benefit societies may use various distribution channels and are not limited to independent brokers. Question 15. A consortium of independent contractors from 4 states is exploring options to obtain general liability coverage. They can either form a risk retention group or join a purchasing group under the Liability Risk Retention Act. Which statement correctly distinguishes the two options? A. Risk retention groups are insurers licensed in one state that assume liability risks across state lines, whereas purchasing groups can only band together to buy liability coverage from admitted insurers. B. Risk retention groups must register and submit annual financial statements in every state where their members reside, while purchasing groups only file documents in their home state. C. Purchasing groups have authority to assume risk and establish claim reserves like insurers, but risk retention groups must reinsure all their exposures. D. Risk retention groups may include individuals and small businesses for liability coverage, whereas purchasing groups are limited to large corporate members. The correct answer is A. Risk retention groups function as insurers, underwriting and assuming liability exposures across states under their single state license, while purchasing groups merely negotiate group terms and purchase coverage from admitted insurers without underwriting risk themselves. Reason B is not correct. Risk retention groups are subject primarily to regulation by their domicile state and file notices, not full financial statements in other states, unlike this description. Reason C is not correct. Risk retention groups do establish reserves and underwrite risks. They are not required to reinsure all exposures as stated. Reason D is not correct. Both risk retention groups and purchasing groups are limited to business entities. Individuals cannot join either under the Act. Question 16. Under the principal-agent relationship in insurance, which legal doctrine holds the insurer accountable for knowledge acquired by its producer, acting within the scope of authority? A. Agency by estoppel. B. Apparent authority. C. Imputed knowledge. D. Responsabilidad superior. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is imputed knowledge because this doctrine binds the principal to the agent's knowledge when the agent acts within the scope of authority. Reason A is not correct. Agency by estoppel arises when a principal's conduct creates an agency relationship, not when the principal is charged with the agent's knowledge. Reason B is not correct. Apparent authority concerns third-party beliefs about an agent's power, not assignment of the agent's knowledge to the principal. Reason D is not correct. Respondeat superior holds a principal liable for the agent's wrongful acts, not for the agent's awareness or knowledge. Question 17. Under agency law, what type of authority permits an insurance producer to perform actions reasonably necessary to carry out expressly granted powers, even if not specifically enumerated in the agency contract? A. Express authority. B. Apparent authority. C. Implied authority. D. Agency estoppel authority. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is implied authority because it encompasses acts reasonably incidental to express powers even when not explicitly stated in the contract. Reason A is not correct. Express authority is explicitly granted in writing or orally, not derived from necessary acts. Reason B is not correct. Apparent authority arises from a principal's representations, causing reasonable third-party beliefs, not from necessary incidental acts. Reason D is not correct. Agency estoppel prevents a principal from denying an agency relationship, not from conferring additional incidental powers. Question 18. Under Massachusetts accident and sickness insurance policies, which of the following best defines accidental injury? A. Harm intentionally inflicted by the insured that is still recognized as an accident. B. Any bodily harm resulting from disease or gradual deterioration. C. An injury caused by a sudden, unexpected external event that is unintended by the insured. D. A chronic condition arising from repetitive stress or motion over time. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is an injury caused by a sudden, unexpected external event that is unintended by the insured because Massachusetts policies define accidental injury as a fortuitous, external, and unintended event, excluding diseases, intentional acts, and chronic conditions. Reason A is not correct. Intentional acts are explicitly excluded from the definition of accidental injury. Reason B is not correct. This option describes harm from disease or wear, which is excluded from accidental injury definitions. Reason D is not correct. Chronic repetitive conditions are not considered accidental injuries under Massachusetts rules. Question 19. Which statement accurately distinguishes accidental bodily injury from accidental means in Massachusetts health insurance coverage triggers? A. Accidental bodily injury describes the cause or mechanism of injury, and accidental means emphasizes the injury's unexpected nature. B. Accidental bodily injury pertains to the unforeseen physical harm sustained, while accidental means pertains to the manner or mechanism by which that harm occurs. C. Accidental means refers to the physical damage to body tissues, whereas accidental bodily injury refers to the procedural aspects leading to harm. D. Accidental means and accidental bodily injury are interchangeable terms under Massachusetts regulations. The correct answer is B. The correct answer distinguishes that accidental bodily injury refers to the physical harm itself, whereas accidental means refers to how the injury was inflicted, aligning with regulatory definitions. Reason A is not correct. This option reverses the definitions, attributing mechanism to bodily injury instead of to accidental means. Reason C is not correct. This option misattributes tissue damage to means and procedural aspects to bodily injury, which is incorrect. Reason D is not correct. These terms are distinct in regulations and not interchangeable. Question 20. Harold's individual health policy becomes effective on March 1st. On February 25th, he begins experiencing symptoms of a thyroid disorder but does not seek medical attention until March 10th, when a physician diagnoses the condition. Using the policy's definition of sickness, which of the following is correct regarding coverage for this thyroid disorder? A. It is covered because the diagnosis occurred after the policy's effective date. B. It is covered after the policy's waiting period if no symptoms recur during that time. C. It is not covered as a pre-existing condition because the first symptoms appeared before coverage. D. It is not covered until the policy's 10-day elimination period for sickness has elapsed. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is that the thyroid disorder is not covered because the definition of sickness refers to the date of first manifestation, which occurred before the policy effective date, classifying it as a pre-existing condition and excluding coverage. Reason A is not correct. This is incorrect because coverage is determined by when symptoms first manifest, not when a diagnosis is made. Reason B is not correct. This is incorrect because waiting periods apply after coverage becomes effective, but the condition is excluded as a pre-existing condition due to earlier symptoms. Reason D is not correct. This is incorrect because elimination periods apply to new sicknesses, whereas this disorder is excluded outright as pre-existing. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.